In this video, I'm going to kind of give an update on our plumbing systems. I did a video maybe a year or so ago that was really popular about our plumbing systems. We've tweaked a few things, and so I'm going to talk about that, the changes we've made. But before I get into that, I want to give you a quick kind of just overview of our electrical systems, because those kind of things go hand in hand, the electrical and the plumbing. Those are things that might be kind of intimidating for people. So I just kind of want to give you an overview of what we do, and make sure you stay till the end of this video because I'm going to show you some new things that we have going on in the shop. We like to use Victron components. I love them because they just work. So I like that it's a component system because if one thing has a problem, like your solar charge controller or your alternator charge controller or even your inverter, you can swap that one thing out. And typically it's something that the customer can do. It's not that difficult just to swap one part out. Where with you, if you go with an all-in-one system like Blue Eddy or EcoFlow or Goal Zero or one of these, the all-in-one units, if one thing goes wrong, you're gonna have to replace the entire thing or possibly ship it back to have it repaired, and then your whole system is down. We had a situation where the alternator charge controller went out for our customer. They were in Alaska, and they were on a 1 month trip in Alaska. And we were able to send them the new charge controller while they were on the road. They were able to swap it out and be able to continue on their trip without any problems. If they had had an all-in-one unit and they were in Alaska, they probably would have had to limp by without any power at all, or they would have had to replace the whole thing. And so we just like the component systems, and we find that of all the different components, Victron are about the best. And so that's why you see everything here. We even do the blue raceway. We found that to match the blue of the Victron component. So I think it makes for a really nice, clean install. So what we've got here on this end, I'm gonna start with the batteries. So we've been using Battleborn batteries for years, and they're awesome, but there's some new up-and-comers coming onto the market that we feel every bit as good and a lot less money. These are Epic. We really like the Epic batteries. We've used them on 2 or 3 builds now. They're 300 amp hours each, and they're really not that much bigger than a lot of 100 amp hour batteries. So right here, we've got 600 amp hours. Now these are wired in series to create a 24 volt system, which is what our standard system is. We really like working with 24 volt. I get a lot of comments, why not 48 volt? Why aren't you doing 48 volt? We will move to 48 volt, but right now we just feel like especially Victron supports 24 and 12 a lot better. There's just a lot of components that they haven't moved to the 48 volt platform. And so when they do that, we'll move to 48 volt, but we feel like right now 24 volt gives you a lot of benefits, and Victron supports it really well. So we've got the batteries here. These are connected to the Lynx distributor. We really like using the Lynx distributor. It's got a fuse for each of our different components, 4 different fuse locations, and then it's got some studs on the end of the bus bars where you can hook up additional things. And we typically use that for our air conditioner breaker. And so on the end of this, we've connected this for an air conditioner breaker. We've got our inverter coming in, our 12 volt DC, we've got our 2 Orions, and then we've got our solar charge controller. So you could do this with a bus bar and with breakers and things, but you really don't save any money, and it's just a lot simpler and cleaner using the Lynx distributor. So we go through the battery switch, which disconnects the system from the batteries, and then we've got the smart shunt. So it has Bluetooth, you can monitor your system from your phone, but then it also feeds into the Serbo GX screen. So down here we have the Serbo GX, which is kind of the brains of the operation, gives you the output to a touch screen so that you can see where everything, your state of charge, your usage, if you're charging, shows what's going into the batteries, and you can even connect your water tank so you can see the levels of your water tank. Then moving on down, we've got 2 Orions. So in a 24 volt system, we like to do 2 Orions, but we find that 2 of these with the 600 amp hours gives you a good balance of being able to charge those relatively quickly while you're driving. And then we've got the solar charge control in the end. This system right here is a drop-in that the customer will actually be coming and picking it up, and then they'll be connecting everything to it. So this is ready for them to connect. All they'll have to do is plug their solar panels into this, connect all of their circuits, their AC and DC circuits to the breaker panels, and they'll be ready to go. And the other thing with with the electrical and the plumbing is we bench test everything. So this whole system is up and running right now. We've checked the shore power, we've checked the all of the different circuits and things, make sure everything's working right. We program everything. So when the customer drops it into their van, everything's ready to go. Now moving over to the plumbing, so this is the back end of the plumbing box. This will be on the driver's side. And you can see where we put a sight tube in here so that you can actually watch the water. The tank is just inside of this, so you can actually watch the water fill and stop before it gets to the top. This is the Aquar RV City Fill. So all you do is you just put this fitting in connects with a half twist and has a nice shut-off valve. And so you would just connect your hose to this to fill the tank. And then this is for the shower, same thing. This just fits right in with a half turn. And then you connect a shower hose with a handheld shower to this. And then this is the shower mixer. And this is something that Aquar has just come out with and we're really excited about. It's a RV marine grade components. It is a hot and cold mixer, and it matches with everything else. So I think that using these components just makes a really nice clean back end for your plumbing box. Now here's the interior of the plumbing. And so this customer, this is one we're building for the same customer as the electrical side. This customer is going to be installing a Rixson hydronic system in the van. So all they wanted us to do is to prep it, supply everything prepped for that Rixson system. So what we've got here is a 36-gallon over-the-wheel well water tank by Northwest Conversions. We love these tanks, they're awesome. 36 gallons, nice low center of gravity because it's over the wheel well. The wheel well part of it kind of helps create a baffle so that the water doesn't slosh as much. And so really, really awesome there. And then up above it, we've got the backside of all those Aquar fittings. Our water fill comes in here and goes into the top of the tank. And then this is the shower, the wash down, and then the mixer is over here. Now, I've talked about this before, but we really like to put all of our fittings on the top of the tank if possible. So we've got our water fill coming to the top. We've got our pickup line for our water pump coming into the top, and we use what's called a uniseal, which is basically you drill a hole and it fits in tight, and then your hose goes down inside of it, creates a watertight hole in the top of your tank where you can connect to. Okay, and then right here, we've got a hatch, what we call an inspection hatch, which allows you to get inside of the tank. It's marine grade, waterproof, and it allows you, if you need to get in there to clean things out. Also, if you want to put antifreeze to winterize the van, you can also put a little bit of bleach in there to clean your water. We really like putting these in so that you have access to the inside of the tank. And then up here, you can see we've got our water pump. This is something that we've changed recently. We're using these flexible braided hoses. Instead of, we used to use this clear hose. This clear hose, in all of my experience in doing plumbing systems, if I ever have a leak, it's typically with these clear hoses. Now there are ways to help alleviate that. One is to heat up the ends so that when you put them on, they kind of mold around the fitting, and then while it's still warm, tightening up the clamp. But these will be susceptible to leaks a lot more than your PEX fittings. And so what we do now is we use these 1/2-inch braided hoses. We've got one connected to the water pump, and then we go into the manifold. So the manifolds we use are PEX manifolds. They make them for the PEX A expansion PEX, which is what we use. They also make it for the other types of PEX. So here is one of the manifolds. And so you can see that it has a 3/4 inch out inlet, and then the outlets are 1/2 inch. And we buy the ones that are closed on the other side. So what this allows us to do is have our line coming in, connecting it with this hose, and then on the outlet side, we have 3 ports. We have one that will feed either the water heater or the hydronic system, whichever you're using. And then we have the next one is going to feed the sink, and then the other one is going to feed the shower. So these are the cold lines, all the cold. Okay, then I don't have it in this van because, like I said, the customer's going to be installing the rest of it. But typically, coming out of your water heater, you would then have a T, and you would send one of the hot lines to your shower, which will connect right here, the same way this one is. And then the other hot line will go up to the sink. Now, one thing that we've started doing on all of our vans, we've always put ball valves to the different zones, you might call them, the shower and the sink. If there's an indoor shower, we put ball valves on all those. We always do that. But we've started putting one on the line that goes to the hydronic system or the water heater. And the reason for that, we've had a couple of issues. One, where a customer had a water heater that they didn't winterize properly the van, and the water heater froze and cracked. And so then they had a leak coming out of their water heater, and because we hadn't installed a shutoff valve, they couldn't use their water heater, or they couldn't use their plumbing system at all. So we've started putting one on the line that goes into the water heater. So if you do have an issue with your water heater, you can just shut off that valve, it will bypass it, and you can still use the cold water on the van. So we always do that now. We put ball valves on everything. Then when we connect to the water heaters, I'm going to show you in a van. So here's a van with a water heater, the IsoTemp water heater. And you can see here where we've done the hot line, and we're now using these braided hoses for all these connections. And the reason we've gone to this is the customer I was just talking about who had the IsoTemp water heater freeze and crack, we had everything connected with PEX tubing, and it was just a lot harder for them to swap it out. Now, using these braided hoses for everything, they can just unscrew everything, take it out, put the new one in, and screw everything back in. So that's why we've started using these braided hoses. So that's another big change that we've made in our vans, is using the braided hoses to connect the components so for interchangeability, because you are going to have issues. You may need to replace a water pump. You may need to replace a water heater. Those things will go out eventually. And so we're trying to make it as easy as possible for a customer to be able to swap these components out. So that's something that we just feel is really important in all of our builds. And if you're building your own system, it's really important to be able to change out parts when needed. Now, I mentioned that we have some new things going on, so I want to just do a quick walk around in the shop, show you what's going on, what we're doing. So our first, I think it was our first 20 vans were all Mercedes Sprinter 144s. In fact, we kind of got a reputation of that's all we work on. People would reach out to us and say, do you work on any other vans? I'm interested in buying a ProMaster or a Transit. And yeah, we work on all vans. We've done different parts of builds on other types of van, but we haven't done any complete builds on other vans. It was all Sprinter 144s. Then a few months back, we got this Sprinter 170 in, so that was our first long wheelbase van. Then we just recently got in our first Ford Transit. So you can see here, this is a medium roof Ford Transit. And this customer had some really specific needs. They live in a HOA, has pretty tight restrictions for any type of RV in the community. And so they need something that is stealth, that doesn't look like a big RV. And so she went with this mid-roof, medium roof Transit 148. And I'm going to do a future video going over our impressions and kind of our feelings on the different platforms for building vans, whether it be the Sprinter, the Ford Transit, or the Ram ProMaster. Then, just yesterday, we had our first ProMaster come in. And hopefully you can see this. We've got things crammed into the shop a little bit. But this is a ProMaster 159. So their main reason for going with a ProMaster is a ProMaster is a little bit wider. A ProMaster, depending on the position, it's anywhere from 71 to about 74 inches wide, where the Transit and the Sprinter are about 68 inches wide. So in the ProMaster, you are able to sleep crossways without adding pop-outs or capsules or flares. And so that was this customer's main reasoning for doing a ProMaster. I get a lot of questions about the different platforms. Now that I've been able to go through the ProMaster and the Transit, spent a little bit of time in them, laying things out, I will say that I'm still a big fan of the Sprinters, but these have some benefits and some things for certain customers they might like better than the Sprinter platform. So in the coming weeks, I'm going to be doing videos comparing all three of these vans, how, as far as building and our impression. So stay tuned for all of that. So if you'd like to see those videos about comparing the different van platforms, or if you just want to see more videos about van building, van life, products, DIY tips and tricks, then be sure to subscribe and smash that like button. And we'll see you in the next video. Jeff with Thrive Vans, Thrive On. See ya.